Bell's Hells is a ticking time bomb on the moon, Joe Manganiello unloads on the direction of D&D, and a new Game of Thrones series. Again.
But wait, there's more!
Welcome to Fantasy News Friday, our weekend news rundown. Today, we're talking about the latest episode of Critical Role, Joe Manganiello's thoughts on the direction of Dungeons & Dragons, and a new Game of Thrones spin-off. Remember, if you like these kinds of videos, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons so we can keep making them. Now, on to the news.
News team, assemble!
Bell's Hells continued its exploration of Ruidus in last night's episode of Critical Role with a Matthew Mercer lore dump special about the multiple cultures and races found on the Evil Moon / extracelestial entity prison. It turns out that the Raylorians have become the dominant imperialist power on the moon, subjugating other races on the planet and leading to an active resistance that predates Bell's Hells' involvement. On the flip side, the group also had to deal with a big combat session that left tons of visible damage, so it looks like the Ruby Vanguard and other hostile forces will know that they are, in fact, on the moon. We're also dealing with a lot of interesting dynamics with the group right now. Orm is using his new powers and becoming increasingly pushy and dangerous. Lada is dealing with Delilah. Imogen is dealing with her connection to Ruidus. Fern has the mark of Asmodeus. Ashton has his dangerous Titan powers, FCG still has some murderbot flashes, and Chetney has a mathematically significant chance of dying in his sleep. Plus, the party has captives now, even furthering jeopardizing their supposedly stealthy mission. The big question here is not if things will blow up, but when.
Chetney should not be alive.
Joe Manganiello has some thoughts about the direction of Dungeons & Dragons. In a recent interview with our parent site comicbook.com, Manganiello says that D&D is going downhill, and blames the game's departure from its roots on Mike Mearls being pushed out as creative director of D&D back in 2019. Now you can hear his full thoughts in this clip.
You know, Mike Mearls and Rodney Thompson, Peter Lee, Rob Schwab, what you know, you would call Project Iowa. Project Iowa was towards the end of 4th edition. They put together a little crack team to create a new edition of the game, which they thought was going to be the end. They thought it was going to be over. Judging by the numbers of 4th edition, the vitriol towards that edition, they decided it's over. And everyone really left the game. Most people were playing Pathfinder, or even more people were playing Pathfinder. And so, you know, Mike Mearls was put in charge of this team to try to figure out what to do next. And they started polling the fans that were left over. But mind you, at that time, you know, whoever was left during 4th edition really, they were diehard lovers of the game. And so when you reach out and you ask a really concentrated fan base what to do next, you're going to get good answers, because they're people that have been with this thing from the jump, and this is what's wrong. And so the feedback was really fantastic for what went into 5th edition, and Mearls was smart enough, you know, he listened to it all. And so, you know, created this edition that then became the most popular tabletop gaming a system of all time. I mean, it's not even close. The 50 million people during COVID that were playing, that mind you is way less now, but that peak 50 million during COVID, that's Mike Mearls and company. You know, they made a better edition than even Gary did. You know, I mean, you have to give all credit to Gary and Arneson and kind of the gang in the Midwest, but what Mike Mearls did and company did with that game is mind blowing. And then of course, you know, the Twitter mob rises up and with the pitchforks and the torches, and it was right in that weird kind of spot when all that was at its height, and everybody was really listening to the mob in that way. And there were some people within the company that saw their opportunity to try to go for Mike's head and get him out of the driver's seat. And they were successful, and they were allowed to do it. And since then, it was kind of like I told Mike at one point, it's like Jimmy Johnson winning back-to-back Super Bowls with the Cowboys, and kicking him out, replacing him with Barry Switzer, and then just dismantling the team. I mean, that's kind of what it was like. It was like There were a bunch of people that then saw their opportunity to try to take credit for what Mike did, try to launch and alter the game into a new edition that, and it just has, it's gone downhill ever since.
We're getting another Game of Thrones spin-off. HBO is apparently moving forward with a live-action project showcasing Aegon's Conquest, which is when the Targaryens conquered 6 of the 7 kingdoms in just about 2 years. The project will be written by Mattson Tomlin, who is also co-writing The Batman Part 2 and has a bunch of other hot series and projects in the works. Now, this will be the 3rd Game of Thrones spin-off. We have House of the Dragon, which Season 2 is supposed to come out this year, I think. And we also have that Duncan Egg project that is actively in development. So a lot more Game of Thrones coming to HBO soon.
Come on, give me it. Give me it.
Paizo has announced its Gen Con releases, which will include the Starfinder 2nd Edition playtest and the Player Core 2 for Pathfinder Remastered. Now, the Player Core 2 rulebook will contain more classes, including several reworked from the Pathfinder 2nd Edition rulebook and Advanced Player's Guide. Meanwhile, the playtest for Starfinder will be similar to the playtest Paizo ran for Pathfinder 2nd Edition a few years ago, with the company releasing a massive rulebook that will be available both in digital and physical form, containing 6 classes, 10 ancestries, equipment, and of course plenty of rules. That all comes out in Gen Con in August.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
And finally, Games Workshop has confirmed that there won't be a Warhammer Fest in 2024. Games Workshop confirmed that the British event won't be taking place this year after the events faced some major logistical struggles at the venue in 2023. However, the Warhammer World Championships will be returning for a second year, with the event taking place in Atlanta in November. The Golden Demon is also expanding, with the painting contest now taking place both in the US at Adepticon in March and in Germany at Spiel Essen in October. That's all the news that we have for this week. Let us know what your favorite story was in the comments section.